If you managed to catch GamesCom last month, you would have been aware of the new Outlast Trials closed beta trailer that dropped. This trailer was packed full of teasers for the next experience, which give a little bit of a clue as to what we should expect from this next game. In this video, we'll be doing a deep dive into this trailer and unpacking what is in it. So without further ado, let's jump in.
I'm sorry, my son. I didn't want to have to do this to you. There's so much yet for you to witness.
There's like to turn to God as anything else. And God died with the gold standard. We're on to a more concrete faith now.
The enemy is growing in her foul womb.
God doesn't love you, not like I do.
From the off, we see a document which is titled Deep Behavioral Programming and Involuntary Re-Education. Aside from that being Murkoff's MO, it's pretty clear from this what this game is going to be about. The logo in particular is slightly different from the one we see in Mount Massive, but the crest says a date, 1956, a period of time featuring heavy geopolitical tensions, the Cold War. The document in question is a proposal, and throughout the trailer we see excerpts from this document flashing up on the screen, sometimes too fast to read. But going through the trailer frame by frame, I've been able to do some digging into these proposals. The first thing we see in the document that we'll look at is something called dispensing of existence. Now, in 1960, an American psychiatrist named Robert J. Lifton wrote a book called Criteria for Thought Reform after he developed an interest in the cognitive methods of cult movements. Cults use their control of the environment around them to influence behaviour. This game therefore must take place sometime after 1960, as some of the basis for the document proposal follows Lifton's criteria. The dispensing of existence criteria is actually the 8th criteria in Lifton's book and indicates group behaviour, more specifically where the group gives itself the ability to decide who has the right to exist and who does not. This concept in rare cases gives the group the right to terminate an outsider's life. In the various trailers for the Outlast Trials, we see subjects helping one another, and this could potentially be a case of groups being pitted against one another. The second one we see features the word milieu, more specifically milieu control. This word is defined to be a person's social environment or setting. Now, milieu control is the first of the 8 criteria in Lifton's book, and this means establishing control over all that a person sees, hears, reads, and writes, and is designed to create conflict inside the individual. In a group setting, milieu control also sets up an antagonistic us against them mentality, much like the cultists in Temple Gate. So this could potentially be one of the foundations of the morphogenic engine. The third point seems to say an aggressive assault upon identity, which probably focuses on creating the aforementioned conflict within a subject, or potentially putting them into scenarios which mess them up, creating trauma, which remember was itself a crucial part of how the morphogenic engine actually worked. The fourth mentions establishment of guilt. This, I think, is alluding to creating a sense of guilt to which the subject feels the need to repent. This could explain why there's a church present within the facility. The fifth is, or at least appears to be, progress and harmony, which essentially could mean drip-feeding information to the subject saying that they are doing well, that they are getting better and they should stay. The sixth seems to be self-betrayal, which could be something as simple as saying yes when really you want to say no, abandoning your morals, essentially overwriting moralistic behaviour. The seventh is subjugation of perception, which means the perception of what's actually around you and the environment is suppressed, so that what the subject is seeing eventually becomes normal. The eighth is doctrine over person, which is also one of the 8 criteria by Robert Lifton. This essentially indicates that the ideology always has power over the person's own true desires and morals. Again, this harks back to Temple Gate, where their ideology would become more powerful than their internal morality. And then finally, rebirth. Now, everything I've said is pure speculation, so please keep that in mind. But I think that these things may potentially be the way the subject is conditioned beforehand by the Murkoff scientists, and then they are thrown into the trials with many antagonists pursuing them. In the trailers, we see examples of the mental conditioning that these subjects are exposed to. In a previous video, I explored the character of Mother Gooseberry, and the fact that she was, at some point, a popular children's entertainer or a kids show host. A puppet on her hand is a representation of her abusive father, and due to the abuse that she suffered at his hands, she is determined to protect children from men. This is her trauma, and it appears that she is the motherly figure inside the facility, exacting her own form of punishment if one of her children, the player, misbehaves. She seems to have her own home within the facility, and the home is called Futterland, which contains child mannequins. Now, Futterland translates into German as Fodderland, which I guess is apt considering the amount of subjects that likely end up there. This could be a little clue as to the involvement of Rudolf Wernicke, who himself was a German scientist brought to the US as part of the US government's Operation Paperclip. And when he was brought to the US, he originally worked in Los Alamos, so I'm guessing that this is where the game is going to take place. The facility itself seems to masquerade as a society with a school, a church, a dentist, law enforcement, and the appearance of shops and restaurants. This could potentially mean that Murkoff intended to reintegrate these people into society at some point. There is a number above a door at one point in the trailer which reads 160425. I'm not sure what this signifies, but it seems that the door itself is an exit. But then again, this message flashes up which states that the way out is not a door. The player stands in front of the door for a long time, so it could be a trick. Mental conditioning was maybe preventing them from leaving. The number could state how many people have chosen that path and died. Maybe. But let me know what you think down in the comments. And finally, at the end of the trailer, we see a recruitment flyer targeting people who may be lost, lonely, poor, or confused, and trying to get them to be a test subject to let the miracles of science give them purpose. The Murkoff Corporation are showing themselves to be a charitable outreach. But that's it for this trailer analysis. I'm really looking forward to this game, and if you enjoyed this video then please leave a like and subscribe to the channel to support. Leave your thoughts down below, and I'll see you in the next one.